Kapil Sibal has started the dialogue going on EVMs and their reliability. And he is giving advice to all the party members who will be representing their candidates in various counting centers to look out for some things. Because he says, if you don't see this, then there could be a problem. 𝗤𝙬𝙤𝙬 hai. Let's just leave it at that. So, what are the things he's saying? Well, he's walking us through what happens when the counting starts. There is something called as the CU or the control unit number. There is something called the BU, ballot unit number. And then there is a field that talks about the date and time. And he says the date and time should be 4th June 2024. If it is any other date, then gadbad hai. What is the gadbad in this case? Well, I think he probably is going back to 2009 when the people who were following or tracking the Election Commission website to see how many votes got polled to what candidate, they saw that the spreadsheet had non-zero entries for many constituencies against many contestants. No counting had begun. Just hear this out, right? Counting hasn't started yet. Yet, many constituencies, many candidates showed like numbers like 100,000, 20,000. So it was as if they were getting handicapped. Even before a single vote is counted, that person is deemed to have got 20,000 votes. That all these things miraculously happen to be on one alliance is a question that you have to go and find the answer by looking at those things. There are lots of stories available in the web as to what happened in 2019. Clearly, people established that there was rigging there, EVM rigging. Who was at power there? It was the Congress. And how did they do it? Well, first of all, there was this dubious situation where the chief election commissioner at the beginning of the elections was different from the chief election commissioner at the end of the elections. In other words, the CEC himself got changed in the middle. And the outgoing chief election commissioner normally recommends a person that he should succeed. In fact, that outgoing CEC had some very choice words for one of the ECs, but interestingly, UPA appointed the dubious person according to the previous CEC as the next CEC. His name is Navin Chawla. So now you understand why these people are saying all these things. Kapil Sibal was, after all, a minister, education minister, communication minister. You know, he is at 𝗤𝗬𝙁 𝗤𝘃𝘃 because he said that 2G, there was a scam, there was zero loss. Remember that. That's why we frequently refer to him also as 𝗤𝗬𝙁, because 𝗤𝗬𝙁 gave us zero. He is going on to say many other things, like if you have this particular field, this should be this one. For example, the date and time of polling of a particular EVM, that should match. If it is not matching, then there is gadbad. See, the basic thing about VVPAT attached EVMs, and I've said this thing many times now, and I'm going to repeat this again, because every time there is an election, somebody gets the doubt that if there was some gadbad about EVMs. The VVPAT, that is Voter Verifiable Paper Audit Trail, enabled EVM. This has been in vogue since 2014. And we are running surveys at PGurus. After every round, we are encouraging voters to come and cast their vote as to whether they saw the symbol that they voted for drop by in that window that comes right below in the VVPAT window. And close to 90%, this is consistent, 6 phases done, 90% have said that we saw the symbol that we voted for fall through the window. So this is completely verified that whatever you are voting for, whoever you are voting for, that symbol is coming. That's one. Second thing what you can do, this is to eliminate the possibility that button kiska bhi dabao, lekin lagega jayega vote BJP ko. This is one of the things that Rahul Bhaiya has said. And so that is disproved. Next thing is that there may be external interference of the EVM, so that from somewhere outside you can change the count. See, these people should know that, because that's exactly how the 2009 election was rigged. I've said this before, but I'm going to repeat it because for completeness. See, what happened was the UPA swept all the seats in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra. And when they checked the counts, right, especially in Maharashtra when they were randomly checking, one booth has 1500 votes. We are all clear on that. Okay. Now the booth agent will be from all the parties. Sometimes agents from smaller parties may be missing. But take, for example, the number 2 party in a particular booth. Let's say UPA was number 1 and NDA was number 2. So the NDA person, there will be like usually 2 to 3 people in the booth. 3 people in the booth of NDA. Okay, and these 3 will have families in that area, because booth people are usually those who live in that area, because the whole idea of putting them there was to know that somebody who's coming in, they know this person lives here. You can always object that I don't think this person lives here. Okay, so 3 people, they'll have families. That means at least 4 per family. So at least 12 votes should fall in one box of 1500, right? One box. Guess what? The vote count was showing 0, 1 or 2 for the number 2 party in many booths. That's when people said, oh my goodness, this has been rigged. So that was first, that is the hypothesis. How was this concluded? What happened was, some EVMs showed up suddenly somewhere in Vijayawada, I believe. And enthusiasts got hold of these EVMs. They looked at it and they noticed that on the display counter, there was another small module that was piggybacking on that. That is, piggyback is, let us say this is the display. On top of that, there was a small module. That module had a Bluetooth receiver. It turns out that the way they rigged, at least we don't know if that's exactly what happened, but they could prove that the EVMs of those days could be rigged by attaching a Bluetooth module and then using a phone which has a Bluetooth interface to try and influence the count. So what happens is, anybody can vote for any party symbol, but the count will always go only in one direction, right? So this is how they prove that the EVMs could be hacked in 2009. That's why the whole VVPAT came about. Okay, so for Kapil Sibal today to come and say that EVMs will be hacked and you should look out for all these things, it's like, he's just living down memory lane. After all, you are part of the government. You guys stole that election. 3 states, complete sweep. And interestingly, in Andhra Pradesh, there was one poll forecaster who got it down to the last constituency. Everything accurate. How the heck can you do that? Because he was just saying that one party is going to win, and they won everything. I mean, in Tamil Nadu, there were 1 or 2 seats where they didn't win convincingly, but they managed to, at the end of the day, they swept it. In 3 states, Tamil Nadu was 39, 42 was Andhra Pradesh, 48 is Maharashtra. You do the count, guys. In all these people, in all these states, the UPA won very, very handsomely. That's how they came to power in 2009. So, having done it themselves and then been proved that they did something wrong, which they never accepted they did, but you can see that now I have shown you 2 ways in which it was hacked. First, there was an offset provided against a particular candidate. Like, for example, UPA candidate will start at 25,000 and an NDA candidate will start at 0. I'm glad they didn't put any negative for others. That would have been even worse. So that was the first one. The second one was this use of this small module that was piggybacking on the EVM display, and you could manipulate it using a cell phone. Today, in these VVPATs now, there is no way to open that. There are no Bluetooth ports. There are no Ethernet ports. There is no USB port. These machines are completely hermetically sealed, except for changing the paper ribbon, the print paper, so that you can, when it runs out of paper, you can add the new paper. There is nothing you can do. So VVPATs, in my opinion, are rock solid. Now let us assume that even beyond all this, that somehow the manipulation has been done. How will the manipulation be done? Vote for A is counted as vote for B. Vote for B is also counted as vote for B. This manipulation can be done. Let us say that is the argument. How will you do that? You will do that using some sort of a program that you would download into the EVM. Remember, every constituency has different candidates. So you have to know which row to change, right? This is, and they are alphabetically loaded. So you don't have a guarantee that a particular party will always come up at the same place. So you can't, you need to do it at every EVM. And just now I explained to you that there is no way to access the EVM inside except to load the printing paper for the VVPAT. So that is not possible. And how will you then change it? It's pretty much impossible. Even assume that even beyond all these things, you can say, okay, the VVPAT, the EVM can still be manipulated. So how is that possible? That somehow somebody had a priori information that this is going to be the BJP slot, and every vote for the opposition, that is INDI, will also get counted as BJP. So to check that, what do? You verify the electronic count with the manual slip, that VVPAT generated slip, and then the two have to match. If it doesn't match, then that machine has a problem, right? Now, for this, what the EC was doing, Election Commission was doing, was per assembly constituency, they were taking any one VVPAT randomly, and on that one VVPAT, they would run the scores, like how many votes have been electronically cast and how much does it compare against the actual ballot votes, the printouts, right? And this was argued by the opposition parties in 2019, leading up to the elections. On April 8, 2019, the Supreme Court ruled that instead of having just one per assembly constituency, make it 5 per assembly constituency. And I have a reservation about this. In fact, before this, I had written about how VVPATs are secure, because PGurus has been publishing since 2015. I had written about how, if you think of any statistical process which is random in its distribution, which an EVM can be thought of as, then you need to do checking for 10% of the ballots. That is 10% of the EVMs, you have to select them randomly, and on those 10%, you need to do the matching, electronic versus paper. And if that is correct, then you can deem that the entire sample is correct. Because remember, Supreme Court ruled out that 100% of the VVPAT will be checked, because it will take a lot of time. So statistically, if 10% matches, that is enough. Whether 5 booths in one assembly constituency meets that rule, I don't think so. That's not enough. So you have to have a little bit more. And once you do that, then everybody who is in statistics, who is doing all these kinds of studies, will agree that yes, this is a truly authentic process, and that the VVPAT itself stands alone. It cannot be said that it is doing any kind of manipulation. This is all I wanted to say. I mean, Sibal can come and say whatever he wants, and because he has been a minister, don't just take his word for it. What he has ended up saying inadvertently is that some of the things that they themselves did in 2009 is now coming out in the open. You can go and look up all these things. Naveen Chawla, who is this character? How did he get elected or appointed as CEC? Who was his wife? And what was her relationship with Madam Sonia Gandhi? All these things are out there. So they are past masters at manipulating these things. And now that they are not there and they see that none of the manipulations are working, look at Mamta. She has added so many people from the Muslim classes as OBCs illegally without doing the due process. Now they are all removed. But then I'm also hearing that the current appointments will not be touched. Why? That is not fair. Somebody else lost out. Well, how are you going to take care of that person? So these are all, this is, I'm not in agreement with that kind of determination that they will not touch the existing appointments. They have to be sent home. That is a problem. Anyway, this is all I wanted to say, but things are now going to the next phase where the blame game is going to start. Well, before that, I just wanted to educate all our viewers that this is how I see it. You can agree with me, disagree with me. Please feel free to share your thoughts by way of comments. Also, if you just voted in phase 6, do take our survey. It's on community tab of YouTube, and you can take the survey to tell whether you voted on a VVPAT enabled EVM or not. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.